Welcome to the 8th and final panel for today's Amtgard Leadership University, where it's going to be a Knights panel. This is actually, we absorbed it or jacked it off of Facebook, and when Forrest started it, and then, so it's his fault, depending on how the next couple of moments go.
We're jacked it off.
If you stop,
You said it.
and
Dignity. Dignity.
So, the editing team. However, so as we are in this last stretch, please make the most of this opportunity. Some of the different things we're going to be talking about, as you can see by the illustrious panel. Knighthood, good, bad for the game, indifferent. What are some different perspectives on what it brings to the game? What is some different perspectives on what it brings to the individuals? And we'll just see where it goes. This one's going to be likely a little bit less moderated than the past because, to be honest with you, you have 6 nights, you have 2 cameras, and Lord only knows what's going on. The only thing I promise is it's not a live feed, so we can clean it up as best as possible.
We also like fighting amongst ourselves.
Yeah, so let's keep this panel's going to be a great one. So, much like the other panels, what we're going to do is each member will do a quick little introduction of themselves and a little bit of their own perspective. What they hear, what they want to pass on to everybody else. And then we'll start going straight into the question and answer round. Again, if you got a question, do me a favor, jot that down on the card, raise your head, and we'll get those things addressed as best as possible. All right? So without further ado, we'll start with Randall.
Hi, my name is Randall, and I am from Dragon Spine. I am a Knight of the Crown and some other things, and was knighted probably fairly prematurely in 2002. And I like this topic. I'm excited to talk about it. I have some videos online about it. It should be fun.
Hi, I'm Casca from the Iron Mountains. I'm a Serpent Knight and also Flame Knight. I probably have the most bizarre opinions about knighthood of anyone on this panel.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Hi, I'm Cord. I'm also from the Iron Mountains. I am a Crown and Flame Knight. And I am incredibly opinionated about knighthood, and you will probably hear a lot of that. I don't think this is really a good place for me to try and give my perspective because, well, that would take up the entire hour. So, we'll get to it.
I'm Forrest. I am a member of the Emerald Hills. I am a Serpent and Crown Knight, formerly a Flame Knight. Emerald.
Who wants to take your belts?
Yes, I want to take lots of belts away. I'm an asshole. You can edit that. Yep.
I'm Nesta. I'm from the CK. I am currently Knight of the Crown for serving as Regent and Monarch in a row. It was terrible or awesome. It was fun.
Hi, I'm Medryn. I am a Serpent Knight, a Crown Knight, and a Flame Knight. I was knighted in 2000. And I have my opinion on knighthood has actually evolved an awful lot over the past 15 years. And there are a lot of people who are going to disagree with me on this. I think we do knighthood fundamentally wrong right now. I want to fundamentally change the way you think about knighthood. And I think this is a starting point to do it. I'm actually about as opinionated about this as Cord is, and we kind of agree in a lot of aspects. But I really want to change the way everybody thinks about knighthood. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try.
All right, let's get at it. The first question came from an online poster. Here's a scenario. You're the monarch of a kingdom. You have the ability to knight, not knight, whatever it may be. One land has a significant higher number of knights than another land. Is that a fair consideration when you go to knight somebody like, oh, they've already got a couple of knights over there, maybe I should spread the love? Casca, because she sort of cringed.
It wasn't a cringe. It was an evil smile. The question would be, I don't, this is going to come off a bit rough, but I don't care about your groups. I don't care about your group dynamics or where your excellence in your groups lie. I care about the individual. Should that individual be a knight? Are they excellent in their field? Are they a good, decent person who has a lot of integrity? That's what I care about. If that means that person is from a buttload of group that has a whole lot of knights, well then what are they putting in their water and how can we spread that out to the other groups? If it means they're from the nowhere part, then yeah, then it's not gonna matter that they're not in buttload of Knights groups. What matters is the individual and the merit of that individual. And I'm not gonna hold someone back just because they happen to be in one group or another, because that's not to the benefit of Amtgard.
Anybody else want on that? Court?
So part of the reason why there was that evil smile is when we were reviewing the questions ahead of time. And when this question came up, it kind of blew up into a full-blown fight between us. And ultimately, I think we came to a kind of a consensus. And I don't necessarily disagree with her stance. But I think one thing that needs to occur is that the Knight Circle, if it is in a situation like that, the Knight Circle really needs to step back and analyze and say, okay, what's the reason for this? Is the reason for this really because this group is doing it so much better than everyone else? Or are there some potential political considerations that have caused this scenario to occur? Do we need to actually start paying more attention to these subgroups? That's an extra step, and that's something that as Monarch, I would try and actually push the Knight Circle to do that self-analysis and say, okay, here's the situation that we're in. I don't want to take into consideration whether or not it's politically expedient to actually knight a person in this group, even though they're not necessarily quite there. But I want the Knight Circle to really look at itself and say, are we doing this properly? Are we actually set up in the appropriate way where we're knighting the right people and not ignoring the others who may deserve it?
So I just realized as going through this, how about we do this going forward? I'll select somebody, and then if you have a counterpoint to it, you go that way, as opposed to a bunch of feeding the beast kind of deal, which I think that was a great example of the next tier that I thought. All right, lots of talk about that companies and households maybe running the local circle of Knights. And then so if you're not the in crowd, there's not an opportunity for you. In your experience, is that an issue? And if so, how does it get countered? Should it be countered? Forrest?
We've been very fortunate in the Emerald Hills. Early on, there were two groups that had the majority of the Knight Circle. We had the Corsairs early on got a lot of Knights. Sable Pride had a lot of Knights. And so those two groups really could have strangled out the Knight Circle. The good thing is excellence is recognized. And over time, our Knight Circle became very eclectic. We don't have any one group that has a large number of Knights, so large that they could bypass everybody else in the circle. So we've been fortunate that we've never really run into that in modern Amtgard, because we have so many people from different companies, different households, playing from different parks, different years of experience on our circle. I think we've really gone out of our way to recognize excellence when we've seen it, so that we have sort of spread out who sits on that circle and who advises, and activity changes, so we're always fluctuating who's sitting there and who's saying it. I will say, and I hate to bring this up because it happened once to us and I didn't think it should, the one counter to that, which is dangerous but can be useful, is the monarch can always go without the Knights. In our kingdom, I think a lot of kingdoms are similar to that. If you start to see that the circle has become political rather than recognizing excellence, the circle is now more interested in nepotism of their own than recognizing people who truly deserve that recognition, or have gotten to the point that they're good for the kingdom, and the kingdom really, in my opinion, you're not knighting somebody for them, you're knighting somebody for the rest of the kingdom. People need to see what those examples should be, and if you're stifling that, you're hurting everybody. So the monarch can step around the Knight Circle in those extreme, and should be extremely rare cases, and say, I'm going to try to help fix this problem by bringing this person who is deserving, because the circle is not doing their job. I hate to see that happen, because it shouldn't get to that, but it's one of those extreme countermeasures I can use.
I think that's rare. I mean, to be honest with you, I've heard of it happening in a few kingdoms. I've heard of people being really afraid of it happening. But I think if we are doing our job appropriately, which means if we are making good Knights, and I realize we have 30 years of history, so we have to live with the Knights that we have currently. I mean, we just do. We don't get a choice on that matter. Oh, well, we do get some choice on that matter because we can fix it. But I realize we have to live with that. But if we are making Knights appropriately, Knights aren't going to do that. I mean, I understand, look, it looks weird. Kent and I are in the Cord and I are in the same company. And we're pretty vocal about what we think about knighthood and how that should be. And you also have to realize that I think in our most active Knights in our circle are me and Cord and Casca and Cord's former squire, Quiet. And drinks.
Amen.
And, oh, and Eggman, no, because we just knighted Eggman at Ruckus. Go Eggman. But we're all pretty good friends. We all hang out. We all talk. You want to know what else we do? We scream at each other and say that you're wrong and fuck you because you're wrong. I mean, we do that. We are not monolithic. I know we can look monolithic. I know your Knight Circle can look monolithic. But man, I will tell you, I've sat in Knight Circles in multiple kingdoms, and I have seen some knockdown, drag-out fights between people who are in the same companies about candidates. And I know it can appear that there's a popularity contest, and I know it can appear that worthy people are being overlooked. I think you'd be surprised if you could sit in and see what a Knight Circle actually looks like. I don't think that happens as much as people fear that it does.
Okay. Nesta, we'll start with you on this one. So, somebody's interested in Knighthood, but they're not able to travel. How do they get noticed, either for Knighthood itself, or maybe even a page or squire to a Knighthood, if they're looking to expand?
That's tough, just because the way that you meet people, or used to anyway, is traveling, or having them travel to you. With the internet today, it's a lot easier to get to know people, and you can actually form a relationship that way. Obviously, what you know about somebody, if you're trying to look into creating an underbelt relationship with that person, is skewed because they may be trying to put on a nice, pretty face on the internet for you. But the thing about that is that, yes, you're communicating with them online. Well, you can communicate with other people you may know in that area. You can get in touch with people and see, well, how is this person out at park? What are they doing out there? How are they acting? How are they involved in the game? Are they involved in the game? Or are they just trying to get this pretty belt that matches their garb? I heard a story about that one today. As far as, well, how do you become a knight if you can't travel? That's a tough one, because you need advocates in the circle. In the CK, our circle of knights we can vote no on somebody, and the monarch will still make them a belt, and vice versa. Well, we can't make the belt. We could agree with the monarch, but our opinion is just that, an opinion. It doesn't count unless the monarch chooses to make it count. You can have, you can communicate with knights in the circle. You'd have to do it online, or over the phone, or by some miracle they've been visiting. But you can communicate with those people and form relationships and try to get somebody to help advocate for you with the other knights, so that therefore they can advocate with the monarch and state your case to potentially receive this award. But it's tough because depending on the area you're going for, you have to travel to show off your skill. You are not going to become a sword knight if you're staying in your shire in the middle of nowhere. Sorry, that's not going to happen. You can't become a crown knight by being a sheriff. That's not how it works. So with ANS, it could potentially be easier because you can send your items with somebody that you trust, or send them to somebody you trust. But depending on how all of your ANS competitions are set up, you may still fall short, and at some point you will have to travel and enter your items to prove the breadth of your qualifications. And with service, there's only so much service you can do at your local park to receive your flame belt. Yes, you can be working in the background and doing service in more non-traditional ways than running events, but that takes a really, really long time. And at some point, the circle and the knights, if somebody says, hey, this person has done a lot of service for the past 20 years at our shire, they're going to ask, well, what big thing have they done? Why should we make this person a knight? So travel, I think I'm getting to the point of my answer, which is I think you have to be able to travel at some point if you are trying to achieve knighthood. It's not going to happen otherwise.
Thank you. A couple of hands went up. Everybody.
Go ahead, Randall. You're rolling to say the same thing.
Well, I'm sort of throwing at it from a different point of view, because I use these seminars not just to say, hey, we're going to talk about knighthood, so non-knights can listen to it. I also, as a knight, like to listen to what's being said so that I can learn how to do my job better too. Because that's what knighthood is. It is a job, and we want to do it well. And the question that you asked was not just how do you get noticed to become a knight, but also what if you want to become a page or a squire and things like that. And I think one of the jobs of knighthood is that we should be looking out across our kingdoms to see who's out there, who's working, who's doing things, who maybe is getting unnoticed, and who can we champion. And something that I did in that regard was I realized that my own little collection of squires and men-at-arms and pages was fairly insular. So I thought, well, I don't want to be that way. I'd like to expand it out a little bit. So I recruited online. I put a post up saying, hey, I'm interested in picking up a page and a man-at-arms. Who's interested? And got applications for it. There were unexpected from interesting and unexpected places. And I was hoping that some of the people that I'd interviewed, that I could pass on to other knights to be picked up. I was hoping other knights could do that too. Maybe they still will. But I thought that was a good way that I could do my job in terms of trying to reach out to people proactively who might be interested in being pages or squires or whatnot.
All right, again, we're not struggling off any topics here. Is the white belt a protector against the code of conduct and being kicked out? And is it just another way to, well, we'll take their belt first and then we'll kick them out versus another way?
Absolutely not. And in fact, the white belt should be this bullseye on you, in a way, because you're supposed to be the example of how to behave in this game. You're supposed to be the example of excellence and integrity. And that means you should be held to that higher standard. And if you're not, so you should be held to code of conduct plus, if that makes sense. And I know, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who think differently on this, that will go, well, so-and-so did this bad thing, but they do so much good for the game. Acts of good do not cancel out acts of bad. It's not how the world should work.
Not a bank.
Karma's not a bank. So,
Karma does not count.
while it doesn't always hold to that ideal, it should hold to that ideal. And I hope all of you hold your knights in your areas to that ideal, because you really should.
And this is kind of a tangent, but not really. The worst thing that you can do to someone who is a knight should not be taking their belt. Okay? That's not the worst thing that you can do to them in this game. The worst thing you can do is say, we're not going to play with you anymore, go away. And whether you strip their belt or not is inconsequential. We should not be afraid of stripping belts. We should not be afraid of saying, you are not knightly. I'm sorry, you are not living up to the standards. You need to give the kingdom back that belt. We should not be afraid to do that. And, I mean, Randall made this point quite a while ago, which is, and it was something I really took to heart, which is, if my circle of knights doesn't think I should be a knight anymore, I really shouldn't be a knight anymore, because either they're right and I'm not knightly, or they are wrong and I don't want to be part of their group anymore. And that's the way it works. We hold each other accountable. We should be holding each other accountable. And if your knights are violating the code of conduct, A, kick them out, and B, take their belts at the same time. Seriously, it should not be a shield. If it is, you need to have a serious talk with your monarchy. You need to have a serious talk with other knights that you trust and that you can have champion you.
Can I ask a question of why people might perceive it that way, though? Why might they think that knighthood makes someone immune? Because we often go have a situation where someone's a knight and they might screw up and they'll get a different punishment from the way that some screw up might get, right? So why does that perception exist?
I think over time people have had bad experiences with either people who are knights or weren't knights but became knights later. And those bad experiences may just have been miscommunication, or they may have been genuinely bad experiences based off of that individual's lack of character. And unfortunately, if we don't address those things and talk about them right away and get them out there and communicate about them, then they're going to fester. And that's going to make things so much worse for all of us, because then you'll get those people who are like, well, I don't like knights because, knights are bad. Well, who is bad to you? I don't want to talk about it. What happened? I don't want to talk about it. How can we fix the problem if you don't tell us what the problem is to fix? How can we go, yeah, you're right, that guy over there is a dick and shouldn't be a knight, and a different kingdom. Yeah, let's talk to their kingdom and be like, hey, that guy's a dick, stop letting him be a dick. But we can't do that unless we have those uncomfortable conversations.
So, I think one thing that comes into question, and your question leads into it, is I think one of our biggest problems is in the 80s when this started, in the early 90s, to mid-90s, Knighthood was a lifetime achievement award. Once you got it, you could never get rid of it. It was now burned into your soul. You were a knight, and that is what made you important. So if you had a knight's belt, we couldn't do things to you because you were bigger than anything else. And it has been an uphill battle and a struggle to get people to recognize that is not the case. Wearing a white belt does not protect you from anything. If anything, it makes you more susceptible to being held to a standard. And so the concept that we can take belts away, being the fate worse than death, is something that I've been fighting against for a long time. So a lot of people sitting at this table is that, you know what, in my opinion, if I'm a knight, it shouldn't take a violation of the code of conduct for me to maybe not deserve to be a knight anymore, or maybe I'm not doing the job and need to step away from it. It should be, am I going above and beyond the expectations of being a good player, being a good member? And in my opinion, if I'm sitting out the park one day going, you know what, I don't want to be a knight right now, because to be a knight means I have to give up my time, I have to give up my often enjoyment of what I want to do what's better for the game. So I'm going to play this battle game. But I get this slew of newbies who just showed up that want to know what Amtgard is, and do I ignore these 4 or 5 people that came up and said, what are y'all doing to go fight this battle game? Would I say, well, I can't play the battle game because I got to go talk to these people because that's what I'm expected to do. I'm a knight. I'm supposed to represent this game and say, this is what you should see in this game. And so if I don't want to do that anymore, there should be nothing wrong in saying, you know what, guys, here's my belts. I appreciate it. There may be a day that I won't do it again, and I will come talk to you about it, but for right now, I don't want this show. That shouldn't be a bad thing. That should be what we do, and it's the right thing to do. And to get people to understand that concept is just, it's climbing the mountain wearing like, 100-pound weight. People don't want to hear it. And it's hard. That's why people think, well, you're a knight, we can't get you in trouble.
So we're going to come back to it because I know it's going to be a lengthy debate, but I want to address one more thing first. I'm telling you, I'm like, no, not first. Okay. There's some discussion about some of the lack of transparency. Then when we start talking about, well, there's a lot of miscommunication about Knighthood and stuff like that. Quickly, COK meetings, open or closed? Just open or closed? Open meaning anybody can sit in.
Closed.
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 Open.
You're just contrary.
No.
No, I
She
honestly
completely
believe
believes
that.
this.
Okay, who wants to defend closed? 1 minute on closed. No, you're fine. That's the you're up.
Oh, damn it, I was thinking working
You took a
fast.
position, own it, you got 60 seconds.
Okay, I say closed because sometimes knights have or a bad opinion of somebody, and it turns into this fiasco, not a fiasco, it turns into this shitstorm, where then it starts coming back to somebody that, oh, this person doesn't think I should be knighted yet. Well, the key word there is potentially yet. Maybe they're not ready. So what? Just keep working. Another problem that I would have with it is closed because you might have a negative opinion of that person, and it may be based on an experience that needs to be discussed first before it is shared with the public. Otherwise, the public may just latch on to something that may not be an important focus, and it will blow up, and the idea that was important there has gotten lost.
Casca, 60 seconds.
You should never be willing to say anything behind someone's back that you're not willing to say to their face. This is a concept we all learned in grade school. It's fundamental to respecting other people and respecting who they are. I like transparency in. I would love transparency in the COK for the same reason that I like transparency in judges. That judges should put their name on their judging sheets when they're judging the ANS trainings, because then they're held accountable. They're accountable for what they say, they're accountable for what they think, and everyone knows it. Everyone knows exactly where they stand, and everyone should know exactly where they stand. Yes, you may not exactly know a person, or you may have had a miscommunication, but it's very easy to go, hey, I've had some wonky interactions with so-and-so. Could you guys enlighten me on that? Or maybe I want to step out on voicing my opinion about person X, because I don't know them that well. We should be able to do that.
Can I have 20 seconds?
So, 20 seconds.
My counterpoint to that is I'm perfectly happy to tell you exactly what I said in a night circle to your face. What I don't want to have happen is I don't want to have your buddy sit into the Knight Circle and hear me say the things that I have to say about you, and then go back and tell you his version of what I just said, and then it turns into a clusterfuck.
I'm saying we're the Knights, right?
Of course.
But, sorry, 20 seconds today.
That was largely what I wanted to say, but we have had situations where we've actually discussed in our Knight Circle things that have been very sensitive and things that we don't necessarily, that we need to do some sort of damage control on. There have been instances that have actually come up like that, where it would have been an absolute unmitigated disaster if we'd actually had it as an open meeting. I think the IM Circle does it really well. Almost every single one of us, we will have our discussion, and then every single one of us will go back to the individual and give them our feedback directly. So it's not like they're not getting the feedback.
Can I
Okay.
change my vote to open?
Do what?
Can I change my vote to open?
Really?
I'm thinking about it.
Okay. Knighthood. Is it recognition or is it responsibility? Is it both? Or neither? We're going to close with this one, short of anything else you guys want to bring, because I know there's money in this one, so go ahead.
Really got a time?
No.
But this one's gonna go. So
You're the last one, but let's see how it goes.
I opened this by saying I wanted to change the way you fundamentally viewed knighthood. And this answers Randall's question a little bit earlier, which is, why do people think the white belt protects you from X, Y, or Z? And the answer is, because you're looking at it wrong. Here's the deal. It's not an award. It's not recognition. It's a goddamn job. It's an obligation that I signed up for willingly. And every time I put that belt on, it's because I am choosing to subsume myself to that obligation. That means that it's not a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's not a recognition that says, hey, I'm great. What it is it says, hey, I'm the guy who will help you. I'm the guy that you can ask. I'm the guy who will give up my time with my family, with my friends, to talk to you about how to build an ANS tournament, or how to run a crown quals, or what knighthood should be, or how to do any of these things. That's what that white belt is. It's a great big signal that says, come talk to me. Let me answer your questions, let me help you. And for too long, and our rules set this up, our rules tell you that knights are supposed to be the best. They tell you that they're supposed to be better than masters. And I think we have it backwards. I think we have it completely wrong. Knights should be the people who are excellent, but willing to give of themselves first. Excellence should be secondary to that. Not that it's not important, because trust me, it's important that your knights be quality and that your knights be good. But it is more important that your knights be good people who are willing to give everything they can. And if you view it as an award, if you view it as that guy's better than me because he's a knight, you're looking at it wrong. It's a job. It's something that we've chosen to do. And if that's not what you think knighthood is, we can disagree. And there are plenty of knights who I respect an awful lot who disagree with me fundamentally on that. And that's okay. But I want everybody here and everybody out there in the internet land to think about that. Which world would you rather live in? Would you rather live in a world where the white belts mean we are the elite of the elite? We're better than everybody, and in order to be a knight, you've got to be better than the previous knights who already exist? Or do you want to live in a world where knighthood is something to aspire to because it is you voluntarily giving of yourself?
I wholeheartedly agree. I have said multiple times that we should change knighthood. I remember years ago talking to Mike and Randall at Imhog and Randall and saying, you know what, I would love to see knighthood be a 5-year stint. Knighthoods aren't permanent. Knighthoods are for 5 years. At the end of that time period, if the COK or if the city monarch says you're still doing the job, then they can let you do it for another 5 years. I would love to see where monarchs basically say at the start of my reign, here are the people that I'm selecting to be knights for my reign because they're the ones that I want doing this job, and it can be fluid, it can change. I hate the concept that I get this belt and it's mine forever. And in my kingdom, I've had this issue, more than one time. And I've been on the lambasted inn and been blasted and cussed at and told what a horrible person I am because I said, look, you're a knight, you did something stupid. You're not only getting held accountable for the code of conduct, but we're taking your belt away for a while. Your belt is suspended for 6 months because the COK can do that. You told us to put that in our bylaws and we did, then you're mad at us for using it. And by God, I'm tired of this idea that I got knighted 30 years ago. You know, I got knighted the first time I got knighted was in 2001. I've been knighted for over a decade. And you know what? It's not immutable. If I screw up or if I, am not doing what I'm supposed to do, take it away. I gave that belt up. I gave that belt up because I've never qualified to get it. And it didn't hurt me. Clan 2012, I walked into the IK meeting of the court and I said, look, everyone should be held to the same standard. I wasn't. They wanted to knight me. They didn't want to give me a crown belt at the time, so they gave me a flame belt that I never should have gotten because I had 6 roses. So I gave it back. I said, I haven't earned this. I shouldn't have it. And I walked away. You know what? It hasn't had any impact on me other than I don't put red in my belt. No one up here is treating me any differently. Nobody out there is treating me any differently. Nobody who doesn't play Amtgard is treating me any differently. We need to stop looking at this as if knights are somehow better. Knights are masters, okay? First, I still agree with that. I want you to be a master of what you do, so when people go to you with a question, I know they're going to get the best answer they can. But if you're a master and not a knight, that's not a bad thing. That means you excel at what you do, and that's what you want to do, and that's fine. We need masters. We need to see amazing artwork, amazing fighters, and have good leaders. But if you want to teach, if you want to go beyond that and say, my job is to sacrifice my time for you, then be a knight. I mean, you're tired of sacrificing your time, stop being a knight. Make it fluid. Stop making it this holy grail that is so untouchable that we're in awe of these people. Because when we do that, and then you have a bad night, I have heard people who are like, I hate knighthood. Like, how can you hate knighthood? Because I've met assholes who are knights. That phrase should not be able to exist. Because if you're an asshole, I shouldn't be able to say you're a knight. They are mutually exclusive, and until we are willing, like he said earlier, I want to take your belts. By God, I do. Until we're willing to start taking the belts away from people who are sitting on that white belt saying, I earned this and I deserve it and I'm better than you because I have it, we're never going to fix it. And people will always look at knighthood and go, well, but I've met a lot of shit knights and I don't like that institution. And that hurts the entire thing.
Okay, so there's 4 knights that haven't answered yet. And obviously, people.
Sorry, I don't want to.
So some very interesting comments are coming in. So I'm going to shift the perspective. Same question up. We'll still continue to talk about this, the broader topic. But so if this is a concern, how come circles of knights haven't established stricter codes of conduct for their own behavior?
They're lazy and they're scared.
We have.
Okay, you can't answer. I'm trying to get it through.
That's what I remember because there's
Should they though? Is your
I think
perspective that
they
they
should
should?
be more strict, yes. We need to be holding ourselves to a higher standard. If we're going to be held up as these leaders, these perfect people in this game, then by God, we need to act like it. And we need to have consequences when we don't act like it. I'm sorry, I disagree with giving a belt to somebody because, oh, they've got these achievements. But they've done these really crappy things. But oh, they made this stuff. Are they a shitty person? Then they shouldn't be a knight. Just saying.
The Iron Mountain's active Circle of Knights is pretty small. The actual Iron Mountain Circle of Knights is huge because it's too old of a kingdom. But those individuals, like for instance, Medryn was part of the group that wrote the Code of Conduct. And I know a number of us who interact with him on a regular basis argued with him vehemently on a number of points when that process was being written, just so that we could argue with them because we like doing that. But it speaks to how on board we are with the Code of Conduct. And while there isn't much in the Iron Mountain's Corpora of what to do about the knights that aren't really around anymore, who may have been good or bad or whatever, we do try to at least police our own in that we will yell at each other if we screw up. And I hope that would be more of a thing until we get a populace in place that says, yeah, let's change the way the Circle of Knights works so that they work better for us.
Well, and we just changed our Corpora.
Yeah, that's it.
We just changed our Corpora to define expectations of knighthood. We listed, these are the things we expect you to be doing if you're a knight. They're pretty broad. We expect you to be truthful. We expect you to be virtuous. We expect you to be helpful. I don't remember exactly what the language is. They're pretty broad, but we laid out, we think this is what you should do if you were a knight, and our populace passed it. We put it to a vote to our populace and said, this is what we think it should be, and they passed it. We haven't tried to take anybody's belt because they weren't doing it yet, but Hopefully we never have to because we don't make shitty notes.
So the next one, again, I want to stay on this trend because all these sort of loop into that, talking about reward versus recognition. So what about those who feel entitled? Like, where's my belt? I'm going to write an article on it. I'm waiting for, it's time for my belt.
Go Kent, go Casca.
He directed it to Randall?
No. I just knew he wrote an article on it. It sounds like.
Okay. So, yeah, this is one of my, yeah, pet peeve's fine. So, I think that if somebody feels entitled to something, that means that they have already taken ownership of it. Okay? That means that they're saying, this is mine, you are now withholding from me what I already have. Okay? That is going to create bitterness. It's going to cause people to just get mad at Knighthood, get mad at the game, become bitter. Okay? Don't ever think of it as, I have earned this and I am entitled to it. Think of it as, how do I want to put this? I think I want Randall to actually speak for me, because I think he'll probably do a better job of saying what I want to say.
I think I remember from the last one.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little drunk last time, sorry.
See, we got me drunk.
Which I know is scotch.
Yeah.
What it comes down to is, this belt is not mine. This belt belongs to the Iron Mountains. This belt belongs to Amtgard. And it will never be my belt. And if you were thinking of it as your belt, you're doing it wrong. Fundamentally wrong. It is Amtgard's first and foremost. And if you are not serving them, then you will never earn their respect, and you don't deserve to be worrying about it.
It's on a permanent 0% loan and an indefinite time.
Well, and the additional point to that, which I think I've said a lot, but is, and if you don't think I deserve it anymore, take it back. Please. If I'm not living up to it, it's yours. Take it away from me.
I would imagine that the people that share that belief are probably not in that boat, because you try to continue to earn it, right? So let's talk about this utopian world where knighthood is something to aspire to. Knighthood is, they're willing to give of themselves in perpetuity. I give myself over to knighthood. Then why does there seem to be this backlash against people who want knighthood and are vocal about it? Or is it a perception issue? All right, but you got to finish it. No stopping.
Okay, yeah. This frustrates me to know. There is nothing wrong with saying you want knighthood. Okay? I don't know of a single knight that I think is worth their salt in the game who actually thinks that it's a bad thing for you to want knighthood. What is bad is those people who want knighthood for the shiny ball. If they want knighthood for the respect that the belt will bring them, that's a problem. Okay? You shouldn't want knighthood as an end in itself. Okay? That's the type of mentality that I mentioned in one of the earlier things. It's called winning the game. Okay? If somebody goes into something looking to win the game, and they win the game, what happens? Let's say somebody's playing a Steam game or something like that. They get all of the achievements, they beat the end boss, what do? They set the game aside, and they go play another game. We don't want that out of our knights. Our knights are meant to be examples, people who are going to continuously be there, so that we can point to them and say, hey, be like that person. Okay? So we don't want somebody who has the win the game mentality. Okay? If you want knighthood to win the game, you are doing it for the wrong reasons. Okay? Now, if you want knighthood because you want to be excellent, and knighthood is the bar by which you measure that excellence, we're having a different conversation. That is what I would want to see from people who say they want knighthood. If you say you want knighthood, my first question is going to be, why? What about it do you want? Okay, that's where I'm going to base my opinion. But I'm never going to actually just look down on someone because they say, I want to be a knight.
I'm going to say, and here's where I'm going to differ from a chunk of people probably on this panel. I don't ever want to hear you say, I want to be a knight because I want to be the best. I don't think, I think masters should be the measure of who's the best. If you're the best fighter, you should be a warlord. If you're the best artisan, you should be a master dragon or a master owl. If you're the best monarch, you should be a grand duke, and we don't actually have a masterhood there. But if you're the best master rose.
Or Smith.
Or Smith, Master Smith. That's a hard one. It's really hard. Props out to all you Master Smiths. wanting to be a knight is different. Yes, it's wanting to be excellent. It's wanting to be very, very good at what you do. But it is primarily about wanting to share that with everyone else. And doing it not for you. Doing it not because I want to be the best, but doing it because I want to make the game better. So if your answer is, I want to be a knight because being a knight means I'm the best, I think you've got it backwards. What I believe, and I know this is counter to what our rules say, and this is counter to what a lot of people believe, and that's okay. We can discuss merits of the various proposals. But my belief is that you want to be a knight, you have to want it to do it, because it's work. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you want it because you want to win, go be a master. Go wear the shiny, get the shiny piece of paper that says, I am the best in my kingdom. And that's fine, but that's not what knighthood should be.
I will actually disagree with Corey, because I will say I don't want to be a knight. No, when I came to this panel, the first thing I said to him was I walked up was, great, I get to a panel and tell people why they aren't going to be knights, why they don't want to be knights.
I take back what I said. I do actually think Forrest is worth his salt, so apparently I was touched.
And in the real world, I'm a behaviorist. And so to me, the way we say things and the way we approach things very much speaks to our perception and how we behave. And so to me, there's an important distinction. When somebody tells me they want to be a knight, and we actually had this question at the panel at Rackus, I said, can I answer this for them? They said, yeah. I said, no, you don't. And the guy's like, what do you mean? I said, you want to be good at something. You want to be excellent. You want to be recognized for excellence. And that's great. To want to be excellent at something is great. And I told him, if you say I want to be a knight, and I said, okay, you've been playing the game for 6 months. I can hand you a white belt. I'm Mark. I can hand you a white belt right now. Or you can work really hard in the next few years and have everybody in the kingdom recognize that you are amazing at this thing. Which do you want? Well, this is what they want. What they want is to be excellent at something. What they want is to be recognized for their effort, to be recognized for the time and effort they put into something. And that's awesome. That's a masterhood. And we have got to break away from this cycle of thinking that excellence in a field is knighthood. It's not. Excellence in a field is masterhood. The people who are excellent at giving themselves to others are knights. People confuse these two. No one walks up to me and says, God, I want to spend the next event working gate, serving feast, and reading that battle game. God, I wish I could do that. But that's what you want when you're a knight. You want to say, I'm going to do things for the benefit of the entire kingdom, the entire club, even if it means I don't get to do what I really want to do, which is go goof off and get drunk and have fun. Okay, I'm going to do that later, but right now, when there's scotch, right now, I'm going to sit on this panel and have people look at me and go, that guy's kind of a jerk because he doesn't think I should be a knight. That's fine. We've got to break away from the mindset. When people say, I want to be a knight, that's not what they're really saying. What they're saying is, I want recognition. I want people to say, wow, I want to be like you. That's fine. I can say that to somebody who never wears a white belt. I have had friends that played this game for years, earned a masterhood, became inactive, didn't come out very much, but when they did, by God, I respected the living hell out of that person for everything they had accomplished. The fact that they would help out. They never wore a white piece of anything around their waist, and it did not detract one bit from their recognition. The white belt is nice because it's an outward symbol of what you've already done. If you're getting the white belt thinking it's going to change anything, that it's going to make you something you're not, you're wrong. All it does is put that burden on you to say, now that people see that, there's an expectation. All knighthood does is give you a benefit of the doubt. When you get that white belt, the only thing you get is that brief benefit of the doubt when somebody who has never met you before will see that belt and go, I can go ask that person anything I need, and if they don't know it, they'll direct me where I can because they're going to help me. And when they do that and they don't get the right answer, or the person blows them off, it hurts us. If you want to be a knight, what you're saying is, I want to give up my time for your time. And I've never met anybody who said they wanted to be a knight. That's what they really meant. What they meant was, I want to be excellent and I want to be recognized for my efforts. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we've got to stop using the term, I want to be a knight, to mean that, because it doesn't.
Okay, Randall, you've been awfully quiet, so I'm going to pull you to the spotlight on this one. So, in the audience right now, and hopefully when they're watching on video, I mean, right now the panel is made up of people who have had direct impact, on our rules of play, numerous corporates spread across the country and kingdoms. There's no doubt in my mind that you've got quite a few people, again, in the room, we're going to be watching online, that are like, yes, that's what knighthood should mean. So why aren't we there yet? And how can they help us get there?
It's a complicated question, because the vision of knighthood that is being expressed up here is not what is written into our rules of play. And regardless of how much we may want knighthood to strictly be in office, it really isn't. It is an achievement award as well. It is something that we use to recognize excellence amongst people in Amtgard, and it is something that is sought for that recognition of excellence, because people who are doing things really well in Amtgard will see that everyone else who's doing things really well, they're getting knighted for it. They would like to achieve that as well. And they probably do want the multiple aspects of it. They also want to go out there and be an officer and a leader in their organization, because knighthood is an office. And I think that's part of the challenge, is that what is being expressed here is perhaps not a majority viewpoint, and it's not what is in our rules currently. So I think that to get there will be difficult, and we might not be able to do it, and maybe we shouldn't, I don't know. Because right now, masterhood is something that is just behind knighthood in terms of the achievement that it recognizes. And while it might be nice to say we should knight people even if they're not masters yet, I don't really have a whole long list of people that are sitting at 7 orders that I'm thinking, you know what, they're never going to be great, but they should be a knight. That list of people is not jumping out at me. So while Medryn's vision of that is I mean, there's nice things to it, I can't see the club changing to accept that, and I'm not sure that it should either. Because what we're doing now is not working, and I think the people who get it get there.
Okay. Does anybody else want a piece of that? All right. So, in closing, this is your couple of moments of thing. We'll start with Medryn, and we'll run right on down the list. If there's a takeaway, I'm sorry?
Can we go to 7?
Shut up, Kent.
Coming down, Mike. But stick with me. Make sure, please, this is your moment to put stuff. This is the bumper sticker that you want to make sure comes across people's minds. They're walking out like that. That's how Medryn should be remembered.
It's not just an achievement, it's a lot of fucking work.
Knighthood is not just recognition for your achievement, it's a lot of work, but you need to approach it with the mindset of taking on that role to help other people. Don't do it for yourself. You're doing it for your kingdom, you're doing it for your parks, you're doing it for Amtgard.
Knights are Walmart greeters. You sit at the door, and people can ask us, where's hardware, what's on sale, how do I do this, where do I find this, and we have to really sit there and smile no matter how bizarre the question is, how many times you've heard it, and direct you to where you want to get what you want to get, and be happy about it. If we're not willing to do it, by God, let's take it off and not have that be the death sentence that you aren't a knight anymore.
I have to distill this down. It's hard. I think it's important to recognize that, yes, knighthood, again, is a recognition of the individual, but it is also an office, and it is something that you're in for the long term, okay? Winning the game is not the appropriate way to think about it.
Awesome.
Knighthood is, on a personal level, it's a commitment to yourself to always improve, but to always improve so that you can improve the lives of others. Not just in Amtgard, but your whole life, outside of this community as well.
Knighthood's a whole lot of fun.
Are you sure?
I get given an office that tells me all those things you get to love doing in Amtgard. That's what you do now for Amtgard. Great. It's like what I have to do is I have to do the things I enjoy. That's awesome. I love this. It's an honor and it's a privilege, and I think it's wonderful. And I think a lot of the confusion that we have coming into knighthood is that there's a mysticism to it that I think is important. I think that a lot of the mysticism we have in Amtgard is valuable, but I also think that we need to break down some of the communication problems we do have. That people will make assumptions about knighthood, or they won't know why people are voting the way they're voting. And if they ask questions, they go up to the knights who do have that job of being the ones who answer questions, go up and ask them. Ask them how they voted on things, and they'll try to answer that as best as they can, because it's their job to do that. But it is a whole lot of fun.
Well, on behalf of everybody who was able to attend today, as well as those who will be watching online, I just want to say thank you again to each one of you. Many of you, again, repeat offenders that spent some time with us today. Hopefully you got as much out of it sitting on the panel as I think many of us got just watching. So again, please, if we could, a round of applause for our panel members. And you in the audience sat through probably 2 or more of these, and it's the same staff from this morning that started at bright and early at 7 a.m. getting things ready after staying up till midnight to get things ready. So please, a huge round of applause for the amazing staff.